Surviving Cancer is a conversation between a doctor and a cancer survivor, moderated by me, Roshina Zehra. Today we are in conversation with a spunky, chirpy 20-year-old engineering student. She is a fan of Sydney Sheldon, not a fan of pets, and someone who makes battling cancer look like a cakewalk. So, hi Anandita.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. So, just another day battling cancer, winning some victories over it?
Just another day going to college and back.
Also joining us is Dr. Sameer Kaul, a leading oncologist of New Delhi. Hello, doctor.
Hi.
How are you?
Not bad at all.
So, Anandita, tell us a little about yourself.
So, I'm a third year student pursuing computer science engineering, and I got diagnosed of acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is a cancer of the blood, in September 2016. I just completed first year, so I had to drop a year after college, shift back home to Delhi because I'm studying in a hostel, and continue with the treatment.
Before we proceed any further, Dr. Kaul, I would like you to sort of break down this cancer for someone who might not know about this, because cancer is such an individual case to case thing. So I think putting it under an umbrella term like say blood cancer is the easy way out. So if you could just make us understand what is this specific condition.
Cancer is nothing but new growth. You can get scared of it as much as you want, but basically it's just an autonomous growth of cells, and every cell in our body is capable of undergoing this change, be it the bone, be it the blood, whatever our body is made up of can undergo this change of where these cells, for some reasons, not some reasons, some of them are identified, but there are others which are coming up every day from our research, decide to one day multiply more than they need to or they should, and keep doing that and do not listen to any kind of controls. So that's what is the actual name of cancer, which means neoplasia, new growth, autonomous new growth which won't listen to anyone. And cancer is a bad word. I don't use it. Now, in Anandita's case, it was the blood that decided to play the tricks, and it's various ways it can play these tricks. It can do it in an acute form, which means quickly, suddenly, you discover it and it starts progressing, or it can do it over a long period of time in a chronic manner. Now, the blood is composed of many things. It is composed of the blood cells, the neutrophils. It's composed of the hemoglobin, the blood, the oxygen carrying cells of the body, the red blood cells. It's also composed of lymphocytes, which help us fight infections and are part of our immune mechanisms, our fight back mechanisms against disease. Now, depending on which cells decide to go mad, you classify them accordingly.
So 2 questions. One thing, you mentioned that how you don't like using the word cancer. For a normal person, how do you think we should talk about this disease? And secondly, when you mention infections, right, and how infections can lead to this form of cancer, so what kind of infections? How can you contract those infections? Are you genetically more inclined to have them? Like how does that happen?
As far as the word cancer is concerned, it's basically cancrum.
Acha.
The crab. Cancrum, which means a crab eating into you. That's where it came from. Over a period of time, it sort of acquired so much notoriety, particularly because there were no defense mechanisms against it, and people would fall like 9 pins to this disease. That has changed over a period of the last few decades.
The crab has been defeated.
Yes. It's not completely defeated as yet, but you can waylay it, you can break its legs, you can put it to sleep, you can do lots of things with it. You can play around with it now.
Yeah.
So it gives you some kind of control. Therefore, we've always said that in our hospitals, and when we are conversing or talking about this illness, we must use the word neoplasia or new growth, and then say benign or malignant. There are things which cause the actual mutation, the change in the cell in the genetic level. There are things that promote that change and become promoters. So therefore, there's a huge list of things. Infections is one of them, and it's usually viral infections only.
Okay, Ananta, turning to you. So how did you end up taking a test which diagnosed you with cancer?
I was 18 years old and I turned 19 shortly after that. So I had fever for a very long time, like a low grade fever, and it just wouldn't go away. And I had excruciating pain in my legs. So I was asked to go for a normal CBC test because they thought maybe I'm falling sick because of dengue or maybe chikungunya. And that's how they got a test done. And my white blood cell count, as he said, was extremely high. It was 40,000. And that's what alarmed them. They studied the cell structure. It wasn't. It was a blast cell, and so they put me through other tests, did a bone marrow, and eventually found out that it is actually a blood cancer.
What was the first thought when you found out?
It was my birthday. I was turning 19.
What a wonderful way to turn 19, huh? With a bang.
I came home because I was studying in a hostel in Jaipur, so I came home for my birthday and they put me through the test, and that's how I found out. So like any normal kid, the first thing that came to my mind were all the movies and the books that I'd read, and it was extremely funny because I came to my mom and I was like, "Fault in our stars ho raha hai mere saath." So yeah, that was a very kiddish reaction. Now when I think about it, everybody dies in the movies and the books,
Which is what my problem is with media and art and how they show cancer.
yeah. So that's not the true story. Obviously I'm sitting here, I'm absolutely fine, I'm a better person. So it was like a gift to me on my birthday from maybe a higher power above, but it worked out pretty well.
So in your really dark times, which I'm sure there must have been some really dark days, what kept you going? Where did you draw your sense of hope from?
So there are both days. There's good and there's bad. The bad, if you let it conquer, it can go on for a very long time. So you have to understand that you have to find inspiration and energy in other people and things that you do every day. So my mom obviously was the biggest inspiration. She would not let me cry. She would never let a tear roll down my eye. And she'd come shouting at me ki, "Are you crazy? ये कोई रोने की बात नहीं है. You're fine." And so she made it sound like a picnic, and we'd come to the hospital, get admitted, watch movies. She would make जो भी मुझे पसंद है. I used to hate hospital food, तो जो भी मुझे पसंद है वो बना के. Even my doctors said that you're on a holiday, pretend like you're on a food holiday. Just don't eat outside, eat घर पे, but eat सब कुछ. So I was really happy doing all of that.
And doctor, like when you're dealing with someone, say, who's as young as 18 or 19, and so is there a specific way, is age a determinant factor, how you deal with that patient, like even on an emotional level, keeping the medical aspect aside, तो आप approach कैसे करते हैं, उनसे interact कैसे करते हैं about the problem?
I think it's not so much the age. Age, of course, when you're talking to, even smaller kids than Anandita get it. People are born with tumors. You have to deal with them in the most normal manner as you can, and do a psychological understanding of what may be the mental makeup of this individual.
Next question for you, Anandita. When you were undergoing your chemos and your radiation, did you experience any hair loss?
I did. They said I'd lose my hair 3 months after chemo, but I made it almost all through chemotherapy without losing my hair. Obviously, I lost most of it, but I cut my hair short. Okay. So after, I think last month tha chemo ka, and I was left with 4 cycles. That's when I lost all of it. Like, I slept with a hair full of hair. Next morning I woke up with nothing.
Okay, and as a young person especially, was there like a concern about looks and beauty and all of that?
It wasn't really a very big concern because expected tha, so itna farak nahi pada. But then they put me on radiation. The time period between the radiation and the chemotherapy was about a month and a half, and during that period of time the hair had started to come back, and radiation ke baad it takes almost 3 months for it to come back again. So I had to go to college, like a new college, because obviously I'd shifted, and that was a little hard to deal with because कोई जानता नहीं है मुझे, सब मुझे देख रहे हैं मुड़ के. So that was थोड़ा सा hard, but yeah, eventually got over it and like made really nice friends.
Has your perspective, like how has it changed before and after your diagnosis?
I've lost the fear of fear. So I don't. When I started college, when I was in school, I used to fear everything, and I had a fear of failing. I had a fear of padhai. I had a fear of not living up to my parents' expectations. Dunya bhar ke fears. So एक point के बाद आके it was like it's not important, even if you fail it's okay, you'll have to begin again, that's all. So that was the biggest achievement through this.
That's a wonderful thought to end this on. And doctor, any closing thoughts on this?
Well, as she briefly mentioned about, you asked this question about loss of hair. And I must tell you how I confront it. I'm myself bald. so I tell people, why do I look bad to you? I mean, well, you can have a hairstyle like mine for a little while.
Exactly.
And that usually works. Now, that's a trick. But I also give them other allurements of a beautiful hairstyle, because there are all kinds of hair replacement therapies now. There are beautiful wigs. You can get one made out of your own hair if you collect it. And I always, before it starts falling, now that's a particularly troublesome time. You don't wait for them to see their hair on the bed sheets when they wake up in the morning. You try and convince them to get a nice hairstyle like
It
mine.
wasn't expected.
Before that happens. The other thing about fair, the question that you asked her, I call them the Fidain. You know what the Fidain are? The Fidain are people who have no fear of death. So, Anandita is a Fidain. I don't think she'll fear it anymore. So really, a very, very high form of existence when you fear nothing.
What a beautiful thought. Thank you so much, Anandita, and thank you so much, Dr. Gaul, for chatting with us today. Hope you liked that podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. If you'd like to hear a podcast about athletes, head over to the Quint's Greatest Game of My Life.